The sound of buzzing engines filled the skies above Ukraine. It was not one drone, or 10, or even 100. According to reports, more than 800 drones were launched in a single wave, the largest assault of its kind since the war began. In the capital city of Kyiv, people rushed to shelters as sirens blared. Anti-aircraft fire lit up the night, intercepting wave after wave, yet some drones still broke through. One struck a government building in the heart of the city, setting it ablaze. Flames tore through the structure, killing 3 people inside. For Ukraine, it was another dark night. For Russia, it was a signal to the world. Drones are now at the center of modern warfare. The Ukraine war has become the first large-scale conflict in history where drones are used on a massive scale. Russia has leaned heavily on Iranian-designed Shahed drones, relatively cheap, long-range, and easy to mass-produce. Ukraine, meanwhile, has relied on drones for reconnaissance, precision strikes, and defending its skies. This new form of warfare is changing the balance on the battlefield. Unlike traditional aircraft, drones can be launched in swarms. They can overwhelm defenses, stretch resources thin, and strike deep into cities far from the front lines. The number 805 is not just a statistic. It represents how far the technology has advanced and how quickly both sides are adapting. For people living in Kyiv, the attack was both terrifying and surreal. Witnesses described the night sky glowing with anti-aircraft tracers, drones exploding mid-air, and debris raining down across neighborhoods. Authorities reported that most of the drones were intercepted. But when the volume reaches hundreds, even a 90% success rate means dozens of machines can break through. One of them slammed into a government building, leaving 3 dead and several injured. The symbolism was powerful. A building meant to represent stability and governance was reduced to rubble. Underlining how fragile life in the capital has become? Why would Russia commit so many drones in one operation? Analysts point to several strategic reasons. First, saturation of defenses. Ukraine has built one of the most sophisticated air defense systems in the world, with Patriot batteries, German Iris-Ts, and mobile guns. But those defenses rely on costly missiles. By sending hundreds of cheap drones, Russia forces Ukraine to spend millions to stop weapons that may have cost only thousands. Second, psychological warfare. The image of hundreds of drones swarming at once is meant to sow fear, not just in Ukraine but also in Western capitals. It sends the message that Russia can escalate unpredictably. Third, attrition strategy. Over time, Ukraine risks depleting its ammunition faster than Russia depletes its drones. If sanctions do not fully cut off drone supplies, Moscow may calculate that quantity can outweigh quality. Ukraine has responded with resilience. Over the past 2 years, it has built a layered defense network that integrates radar, surface-to-air missiles, and electronic jamming systems. Mobile teams with machine guns and autocannons roam cities shooting down low-flying drones. But Ukraine is also innovating. Factories and workshops across the country have begun producing domestic drones, in large numbers ranging from small quadcopters for reconnaissance to long-range strike drones capable of reaching deep into Russian territory. Ukrainian officials argue that drones are no longer just defensive tools. They're also a way to carry the war back to Russia's doorstep, targeting supply depots, refineries, and infrastructure. Amid the talk of strategy and technology, the human cost is often overlooked. In Kyiv, families huddled in basements as drones passed overhead. Parents tried to comfort children while checking their phones for updates. Elderly residents, too frail to reach shelters, listened helplessly as explosions echoed through the night. 3 people died in the government building fire. They were not soldiers but civilians who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Their deaths are a reminder that behind every statistic are real lives, each with stories now cut short. For ordinary Ukrainians, the constant threat of drones means nights of interrupted sleep, days of uncertainty, and lives lived under the shadow of war. What is happening in Ukraine is being studied carefully by militaries worldwide. The scale of drone warfare here is unprecedented, and its lessons will shape future conflicts. For Western nations, the key takeaway is that traditional air defense is not enough. Systems built to intercept missiles and aircraft struggle against cheap swarming drones. This has triggered urgent investment in electronic warfare, lasers, and AI-driven counter-drone systems. For countries outside the West, the lesson is different. Drones are a great equalizer. A nation without advanced aircraft can still threaten a powerful enemy by mass-producing drones. The war has shown that even relatively simple technology, when used in numbers, can shift the battlefield. The Ukraine conflict has become a laboratory for drone innovation. Engineers on both sides experiment daily 3D printing components, modifying commercial drones, and testing swarm tactics. Some drones are programmed to fly in coordinated groups, overwhelming radars with sheer numbers. Others are guided by artificial intelligence, capable of adjusting mid-flight if jammed. Still others are designed as kamikaze drones, exploding on impact against targets. But with every innovation comes a countermeasure. Ukraine deploys jammers to disable drones electronically. Russia experiments with new navigation systems to bypass interference. The cycle of innovation and counter-innovation continues, making the skies one of the most contested domains of the war. The drone battle is not just physical, it is also digital. Both sides broadcast videos of drones hitting targets or of drones being shot down. These clips flood social media, shaping public perception of who is winning. For Russia, showing footage of hundreds of drones taking off reinforces the image of overwhelming power. For Ukraine, showing footage of drones being intercepted highlights resilience and determination. The truth lies somewhere in between. The information war is about morale as much as facts. Every image of a drone or explosion becomes part of a broader narrative. What does this mean for the future of the conflict? If Russia can launch 805 drones in one night, the question becomes, can it do so again? Production and supply chains will determine whether such assaults are sustainable. For Ukraine, the challenge will be maintaining its air defenses, while building offensive capabilities of its own. Western support will remain critical both in supplying equipment and in developing cheaper, more effective counter-drone technologies. Ultimately, drones alone will not decide the war, but they will shape its tempo, its intensity, and its human cost. The burning government building in Kyiv is more than just a military target. It is a symbol of how modern war blurs the line between front lines and civilian life. 800 drones may sound like machines, but each one carries consequences measured in human suffering. The war in Ukraine is showing the world what the future of conflict may look like: cheaper, faster, more relentless, and harder to stop. As the skies fill with drones, the question is not only how Ukraine and Russia will adapt, but how the world will prepare for an age where war comes not from fleets of planes, but from swarms of buzzing machines. The story of 805 drones is a story of technology, geopolitics, and humanity colliding in one of the most consequential wars of our time.